Hello, everyone. So we are back with way more features. So we will have some UI features. So we have made the UI a little bit more consistent with the buttons. There's a very cool new feature where you can view the logs in parallel to your bridges. And there's a new way how you can debug, troubleshoot a bridge. And then there will be some more new features. I don't want to spoil them all, but for now, let's give it to Jose.
Okay, so we have unified the button layout across the software. So now primary buttons have a clear signal color. Secondary buttons are clearly distinguished from primary buttons. And also icon buttons have a consistent sizing and tooltip functionality. Some variants, for example, outline buttons have been removed to have a more clear and standardized view in the entire software. The logs and metrics have been changed. You can now access logs and metrics both directly from the read flow tab with just button click, which opens a side panel. And this side panel is persistent, which means you can work in the entire software and still view the logs, which is a really cool feature. Of course, if you want, you can still open it in a single tab over here or download, pause, and all the actions like before. Speaking of logs, you can now get a bit more debug information. When you go in the configuration in any instance and add debug level true, save and wait for a little bit. Then you can go back into the bridge, go into the read flow, open the logs again, and then you have a second, when there are new logs, a bit more debug information and more precise information as seen here. So far from UI changes.
All right, so basically, let's talk console.log. Console.log is a standard JavaScript function people use to log stuff to a console. And previously in our implementation, this function was not behaving as people would expect or as the standard defines it. Basically, it is meant you dump stuff into it and it will print whatever is inside. For this, in our first implementation, basically what I have here is a generator function, just in a bridge. I mocked some data and I used console.log to print out fields in the data. And what you see on the right side is basically this object. This is what happened in version 0, 43, and 13, and all the versions before. If you did that, not very helpful. And our team, when we used it, we used basically manual JSON encoding to work around this. So this was also the first implementation we did. We basically made it so that the backend uses JSON encoding to print variables. This wasn't perfect. It added a lot of backspaces in the output. And since this tool is meant to make it readable, what's happening, this is not optimal. And the second flaw was some values you can expose in JavaScript led to JSON not working for this, which also led to another fallback behavior, which is still better than failing, but even less readable than JSON output. So in the current version of the tool now, we basically made up a format which is close to what Node.js actually uses, which is not really JSON, which is a serialization of objects optimized to be embeddable into JSON. So there are a lot less backticks in this output, except in this load, but this is an embedded string where this is part of the string, so this is okay. And yeah, so if you use this version right now, you will have more readable output.
Okay, so what we have now, we had a Sparkplug B fix, which is available in the newest version. So just to let you know, this is the previous Sparkplug B thing we had implemented. So you were able to read basically D data, which is device data, which comes out of PLCs, then gets sent to Ignition, for example, and we read it out with UMH core. But there's also data within Ignition that wasn't readable. And what we fixed here is that some data within Ignition, for example, processing data or referencing on other data coming from PLCs, is now available within UMH core. And this won't work with screen share. So what you can see in the topic browser now is basically a setup with our Ignition. where we read all the text. And you can see by the tag name, Sim device device, which is coming from a device. So on this level, which is readable. And now those here, which are coming directly out of ignition. So this level is also readable by now, which wasn't in the previous version.
And the final thing we will be showing is also small UI adjustment, but you will find it throughout the full application, which are these alerts. So previously, these alerts were looking always a little bit different. And now what we did is we made them consistent. So it doesn't matter where you are. You can also go into instances, config file, and you will also see the exact same style of warnings. And that was it from us from this week. Stay tuned for more updates.